look at us as spiritual people. You know, we don't live the traditional life. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I feel like I'm a human, right? And then there are times when I'm called to work with God, source, creator, and I kind of jump into that role. And then I'll go back into, you know, my own life, you know. And again, it's a calling, you know. It's kind of like answer this call, because you deal with a lot of sensitivities. You deal with a lot of like negativity or backlash, or you know, and it's almost like, but you've come here to teach, you know, and so you take this life on with the sensitivities that come with it, the challenges that come with it, you know.
It's like a double-edged sword. You know, you get, like you said, the sensitivities, and you want to help people, but also, you know, you have the limitations of the physical body. You're still stuck in traffic, you're still swearing, things don't work out, the same issues everyone else has, money, relationships, everything. But then you have to, you know, find who we really are when we try to help someone, got to tap into that special connection we're aware of. And a lot of people have it. And some people are afraid to use it, to bring it out. Some people are afraid to talk about it. So
I'm seeing this in my work, where more and more people are having experiences, more and more people are talking about the experiences that they're having or the sensitivities that they have. And I believe we all have this connection. Not everybody is meant to put themselves out there with it, but you know, I find that more and more kids, you know, are being born with gifts. You know, more and more people are curious and kind of exploring spirituality. I think there's so many things out there that give people the opportunity to know what they like and what they don't like. You know, I mean, we all come from different spaces with our spirituality, but yet we all come in harmony with it, you know?
It's a good question. I always hear people talk about how the children being born into the world now are more gifted, and I always wonder if that's true, or are we just more open to speaking about it?
I think that's a really good point. I think there's much more awareness in the last 20 years with TV shows, radio shows, you know, personalities, writing books and things like that, that people talk about things now all the time. Even 20 years ago, they wouldn't talk about it, or they're just talking about it with close friends. Especially if a child had certain talents, they were usually told by their parents, just keep that to yourself. So I think that I think it's a little both, but I think you're right, Nathan. I think it's just a more open society for kids to do that. So it might not necessarily be like, you know, this barrage of all these, you know, special children coming through. I think that they're just allowed to develop.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like they're all special. You know, they're all coming in with gifts and talents, you know, and I think more people are consciously living, you know, and I believe souls choose to come here, you know, and I think we're in a much more supportive energy and vibration, and I think so it's a little of both, you know, where they know they're going to be supported here, or they know that, you know, they can open up. Plus, I also believe the planet needs their energy, because if you notice, these kids that are coming in are like so powerful in their own right. You know, and I think there's more accessible to them. There's more things that are available to them for them to kind of shine their light. So I think they come in with higher vibrational tools and gifts. So let's say, you know, somebody with an incredible singing voice, you know, maybe 50 or 60 years ago, or even 100 years ago, might not be as exposed as now with TV and social media and all this stuff. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So they come back earlier.
Yes.
Especially with like the spirit connection, we know that children are very aware in the early years and stuff, and then as they get, you know, into society and their parents' social things, they kind of like get weaned off, or it gets closed up. Now I think you're seeing a lot more kids that staying with that, so that, you know, the stuff that they remembered when they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they're not turning off when they start turning 10, 12, 14 or something, and there's many places to have it developed, or talk to people, find like-minded people, which is really important. You know, actually, I know some parents that started groups where they actually have meet other parents that have special kids, and to let them know they're not alone. because it's you know, you can have a child that's really gifted, and you're by yourself, and you're like, what do I do with her? The kid's fine. The parents just like doesn't know where to turn. So it's nice to put the parents together, say, listen, there are organizations, there are groups, blah blah blah, and you're not alone. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people like that just in this country that are going through the same thing, which is great because, like you said, 15 years ago you wouldn't have that.
No, it was very taboo, you know, and isolated, and it was very hidden and secretive, you know, where now there's so much more, and it's kind of up and coming. Like, there's so much more that's coming available for just everybody, for adults, for even, you know, seniors and children. Like, there's so much more that's available, and I think this allows us all to develop and go more into depth of like what's available. Like, I think for so long we were so limited, you know, and so some things like social media or technology, electronics, you know, can kind of be a blessing and a curse. But I think the blessing is the world appears to be smaller now because you're so connected to people, but yet, so it's actually allowing people to dream bigger, you know, to really kind of expand their scope and kind of help.
Sure.
So I think even the world, even living and not being born, we're now going deeper levels of thinking and expansion and dreams and, you know, making things happen, you
I think
know?
there's a direct correlation between freedom and your sense of empowerment that connects with your spiritual progression. I think that, you know, we're lucky that we live in a country where we can talk about this and we have the freedom to really empower ourselves. In some countries, they don't have that.
And
If you
300 or
really-
400 years ago, they'd burn us at the stake.
Exactly.
pretty
And
much.
there's countries now that
Yeah.
still
Still.
do that. You know, in North Korea, you wouldn't want to be doing this there.
Absolutely not, yeah.
But I think another big thing is we've seen science come a long way, where a lot of the old myths and stuff are starting to fall to the wayside because you have these incredibly talented scientists that are getting into quantum physics and, you know, altered states and planes and things like that, and they're coming at it from a different angle. So it's not like the old woo-woo that people used to talk about it being like, you know, it's just kind of like something
Yeah.
strange type of stuff like that. That's what I find fascinating. It's just like the spirituality and the science actually coming together.
Concrete evidence.
Right, and when we say spirituality, we're not necessarily talking. We're not talking religion
No.
or something like that. We're just talking our own personalities. I mean, our own makeup of our spiritual selves.
Like a more conscious way of living.
Yeah, it's like our consciousness and our soul compared to our physical bodies and how they interact together.
That we're more than our body, more than our body.
More than our physical
Yeah.
body, yeah. And how the consciousness. I mean, there's so much they've done in the last 10 years just in consciousness and doctors doing experiments, near-death experiences and things like that, and people coming out and people that have gotten signs from their loved ones. That supposedly 80 or 100 million people in America alone have had that type of connection. So it's not random, and it's not like, you know, a subset of society. It's like everyone.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really-
not as unique, you know,
Right.
when people say, oh, we have these gifts. I don't necessarily like think of it as a gift. It is a gift that we all possess. You know, my gift is to be able to share it and use it and being able to teach people with it. You know, that's a gift or a talent, or maybe it's just developed, you know, maybe I've done it long enough that it's become, you know,
I think it's part of who
second
you are.
nature. Yeah, yeah.
You made that decision to share it.
Absolutely. You know, so we all have these gifts,
Right.
you know, and you know, we never know where we're going to ask to use it. You know, we could be in a supermarket, we could be, you know, even at a stop sign, you know, letting somebody go. You know, again,
Right.
you're teaching people how to, you know, be kind to one another, because often, so I like to use energy and like practice and play with it. You know, like manifesting and creating and using this energy that's out there. And so even when you know, like if you've noticed, you know, you let somebody go at a stop sign or let somebody in at an intersection, what happens is chances are they're going to let somebody go in front of you, and it starts like this chain effect, this ripple, you know. So I like to test that and think like, okay, you know, we get mad and upset with people on the road because they don't say thank you or they don't let people go, but if enough people started just slowing down and letting people go, what's going to happen? It's going to start a chain effect, you know. So really, like energy and peace on earth, and you know, getting a better society really starts with us.
That's really interesting because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was going through McDonald's to get a coffee, and I pulled up to pay, and the person in front of me had already paid for me. Okay, which is great. I said, "Oh, that's
nice.
great."
Yeah.
So I said, "All right, I want to pay for the person behind me." So, and then after I drove around and picked my stuff up, I could see the lady behind me was paying for the person behind them. So who knows? Maybe the person in front of me that paid for me, someone paid for them. So you're talking about a chain reaction. I mean, because the lady, when I said, "Oh, I'm going to pay for the lady behind me," she says, "Oh my God, I can't believe this," and she smiled. The worker. So maybe it was 2 or 3 people that have been doing this. So who knows how many people that we it was like a great connection. It was like at least 3 or 4 or 5 of us that everyone was paying for everyone's meal.
And it's funny because it brings up another topic of givers having a hard time receiving. You know, so givers give, and you gave, and then the person behind you gave, and the person behind you gave. Instead of just receiving it and saying thank you, they feel like they need to give back. So that's one of the things I think we need to really learn is not that you shouldn't, you know, pass it on, but also too learning to like just receive and say thank you without feeling like you now have to give. I think that's what depletes spiritual people, caregivers, healers, earth angels, you know, just people in general.
Like the obligation type thing.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm going to receive, but I feel like, you know, I need to give back. And I think that's one of the big lessons that we're learning because we can become depleted so fast, you know, and, you know, we're doing so much. And, you know, it's a perfect example of like, nobody just wants to receive it. They all want to pass it on, you know, because they want to be a good person, right? You know, but where does it end? Like, how much do you give? Because you feel obligated, or you know,
Probably ends with the person who sees a minivan full of people behind them and just
Says
saying,
no.
"Oh,
Exactly,
well done."
yeah. 14 mini meals or whatever. I just thought it was a kick, so I was like, no, I want. It was to me, it was just like a game
Yeah.
type thing. I'm like, no, keep it going, keep it going.
it's
Think
so
of what
nice
it meant
see
to
together.
that worker. That
Yes.
you know that
The
really
expression
touched
she
her.
had was like she was almost brought to tears. She goes, I can't believe this is happening. So it had to be a couple people in front of me
Yeah.
that were doing it. She go. I think she said something like, I'll remember this day all the time.
Aww.
So next time I go through, I'm going to ask her if she remembers that day. It was fun.
And you never know, maybe that's what she needed. Maybe that whole experience was for her, you
And
know?
my cup of coffee only cost me $14.
Yeah.
But it's all part, you know, it's all good. But I think you're right, though, about, you know, not feeling like you need to have an obligation if you receive a gift, you know, oh, I got to give it back or something like that.
Or pass it on.
You have to
or-
pass it on. Because I think a lot of times people feel like either they're not worthy or something like that to receive. Because, you know, or some people are like, oh, no, you don't have to get me anything. You don't have to do anything. But what happens when you do that is you take away the opportunity for the person that wants to help
To give.
to give. And, you know, when we give, we love to give. I mean, it's like it feels good. It's the right thing, and we enjoy it. So we take that, you know, that opportunity away from someone when they want to help you out or give you something. It's like, oh, no, that's okay. You don't have to. It's like, no, bring it on. Bring it on. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the, you know, kind of being aware of like how much you're giving. You know, I like to say to, you know, to people, if you have time but not money, give your time. If you have money and not necessarily time, give your money. If you don't have money or time, don't give any. Fill yourself up. You know, and I think that's a good model to kind of, you know, I always feel so much pressure around the holidays, and I go in and everybody's collecting to the food bank, everybody's collecting for some charity, you know, and again, for a perfect example is somebody says yes, and then the next person behind them feels obligated to say yes, I'll donate the dollar, and you know, and so I have to say honestly what I do now, because I give in so many other ways, and I stand there and I'm like, you know what, I gave to this, I gave to that, or I ask myself, do I feel abundant? Am I feeling like I'm in the overflow? I mean, it's only $1, but again, you keep going to different places. So I think, you know, sometimes like there's this pressure on
Yes.
society to give and be like everybody else, you know what I mean? So that one person gives the dollar and the next person says yes, and
Right.
I mean, sometimes I'm the one that breaks it, you know what I mean? Because I'll go to walk away and somebody behind me will say, oh no, you know, and I just say no thank you. I don't give a reason, you know,
Right.
but then again, sometimes I do. It depends on, you know, and I think that's important. Instead of feeling that pressure, giving yourself like a chance to think about it, like, is this something that you want to do, or are you feeling pressured, you know?
Right, because then it takes the whole thing away from giving.
Yeah, and think about how many times throughout the day or throughout the week that you're being pressured and don't realize it,
And
you
then
know?
are you being authentic to yourself?
Exactly.
Because the most important thing is to be authentic to your life, and choosing, you might not agree with all these charities because some of them do great work, but the person at the top's making $200,000.
200 or making 12 million or something.
Yeah, sometimes even more.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that you make the decision, is this what's right for me now?
Right.
Because giving isn't, once it becomes work, then you're not doing it for the right reasons, so you're not receiving anything back from it.
Right.
And
You become
should-
resentful.
you should
Yeah.
always receive something back. I mean, even the work that we do to help others, we do it because it makes you feel good.
Yes.
Once it stops making you feel good, you're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that should go with everything in life.
Yeah. And that teaches people to kind of stop and pause. I think we live in such a fast life that people just make decisions and, take action and don't give themselves a chance to think about it. And then before you note it, before they're, aware, they're tired, depleted, and drained.
Right.
You know?
And they're wondering why.
Exactly, and resentful and angry, but yet they haven't had a chance to really, and myself included, I kind of like get to that point and I'm like, oh, I did it again, and I know better, so, I'm trying to kind of be aware as I move throughout the day to check in with myself to see how I'm feeling, and it's not airy-fairy, it's a part of me kind of being aware of myself, and feeling like, gosh, I've got a lot of work to do here. I'm not going to be able to do it if I'm sick or
Right.
tired or feeling depleted and in lack, because energetically we can't bring in any more if we're stuffed, and I think this is where we get a lot of like dis-ease and illness and discomfort and anger, because it comes from this place of over-giving, or overdoing it.
I think you said it's like a self-check. And I think everyone can use that because we're all getting overwhelmed all the time. And, it can just be like 1 or 2 minutes or something a day. Say, wait a minute, slow down. All right, guess what? I can't go to the groceries and bring the kids to soccer and do this, and that. Even though I do, because at the end of the night, I'm drained. I feel resentful and all this other stuff. So, or if I have to do it today, just take a deep breath and say, all right, listen, I'll get through it. But give yourself a break. You know what I mean? Because if you want to be in tune to who you really are, you got to give yourself a break.
You got to know yourself. That was one of the biggest things. Like, I, for so long, lived how everybody expected me to be. What everybody wanted me to be. And I was so far disconnected from myself. Like, I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know where I was even going, and it was just spinning my wheels. And I'm just seeing a lot more people now kind of becoming aware of, like, who they are, and that's, like, just minor things that you can do is just stop and pause and say, do I really want to do this? And it's I kind of sit with the word can't, because somebody like me is like, of course I can do everything, there's no can't, that's not in my vocabulary. But I've kind of shifted that and said, instead of I can't, I kind of say I don't want to, or I don't have to, or I don't need to.
Or should I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I don't need to,
You know?
And so, just kind of like shifting your vocabulary or your words, like in that moment. And what happens so often where you just say yes to everything, and the next thing you know, it's like that you're that martyr. I do everything and nobody does anything for me, or nobody's ever there, and it becomes like this vicious cycle, you
Right.
know?
It's got to be a balance. But it's a learning experience. We'll all go through it.
That's true.
But everyone's going through it.
Yeah. But I believe once you're aware of it, you can shift it and change it.
It becomes easier because you're aware of it. It's like, like when you were saying you were driving, if you're driving or something like that in kind of in a rush, and it always seems to like someone's in the crosswalk, 10 minutes later on another intersection, here comes someone else in the crosswalk, and in years past, you might get aggravated, say, oh my God, I hate this traffic. But as you learn it more, it's kind of like, all right, there's a reason for me to slow down here. I need to slow down, relax, an extra 10 minutes or 3 minutes, it's not going to make any difference, but, so we're more aware of it. So it becomes easier the more you practice it.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think too, being aware of being authentic to yourself affects how people view you. People are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. One of the messages I had gotten
Oh, so true.
from one of my my spiritual teachers was, they said the golden rule isn't do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you. Like when I heard that, it's just shifting a couple of words, but all of a sudden it's like I felt it in my heart right away when I channeled that message through, and it was so strong because it's true. The way you lead your life is what others are going to expect from you and get from you. And
Yeah, if you're hard on yourself, you know what I mean, and you have so much expectations for yourself, other people are going to put that on you too.
exactly,
Because that's energy, it's the attraction,
It is.
right? And
Right,
just
that's a good point.
what you put out, you get back. And it's such a beautiful thing because, you know, to know, you know, that you can be kind to yourself and gentle to yourself, that the world will become that, you know? It's so powerful.
it is. And that whole concept of your outer world reflecting your inner world. You know, I think so often we give to the outside world. You know, we're giving out and out and out, and if you're not giving in, you're never really going to change that world if you're not changing your own world. You know, that you're always going to find someone else to help, someone else to fix, something else that's wrong, because you're creating, you're manifesting a life where you're trying to fix
External.
things.
Yeah.
And
Very
it's
external.
going to be a drag. It's just like you're going to be, even though you're doing all this great work, it's going to feel like you're just dragging through life and it's just beating you up.
There'll always be something to do. I was just saying that to somebody today that, you know, a lot of times people think, okay, you know, when my husband is taken care of or he has that job, then I'll be happy and I can do what I want to do. And when my kids are off to college, and then I'll be able to do what I want to do. And then when my boss is happy, then I'll be able to do. But it never ever happens, you know. And it comes to a point where I like to call it wise selfishness or spiritual selfishness. You know, it comes to a point where you have to put yourself first, you know, and in a like I said, in a wise selfish kind of way, you know. And this is a part of, you know, as you learn to take care of yourself, you know, others learn how to treat you. You know, if you're beating yourself up and overworking yourself, well, guess what? People are going to treat you like that, you know. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn because I overgave like 10 times over, like my whole life. I feel like I'm just now learning this, you know, and it's just, it's still like I fall into that trap, you know. So again, just being aware of it. But I like the way you put it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of gig we're in, so it's easy to fall back into that because that's like our natural state. Give, give, give. But I learned a while ago from people, actually from a lady who had crossed over, and she came to me and she said, be easy on yourself. Be easy on yourself. Because we have a tendency to beat ourselves up, and I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to be super mom, super dad, or you know, or whatever, and they just get they get kind of messed up in that whole deal. So I mean, you could just be good to yourself, just doing a little meditation, take a deep breath, you know, or just saying no once in a while,
Yeah.
or have a spa day,
Yeah.
And I say
go skiing.
take it that step further though, and then, you know, really see the God in yourself. Like understand that, you know, there is no separation, because I think that, you know, you can say, oh, you know, I deserve this or whatever, but when you really look at yourself and say, you know what, like, there's the divine in me, like, that, you know, people call it the Holy Spirit or the divine presence, whatever, but that exists within you. So you, not only do you deserve it, but it's almost like you have to do it.
Yeah, it's
you know,
who you are.
that's
It's your authentic self.
exactly.
That's right. So like when we fight against it, that's when we have all these problems.
Yeah.
Exactly. You step out of that, step out of your power. When you step out of the present moment and you stop seeing things for what they really are, again, all of a sudden you develop these problems, you start falling out of the flow of life.
It's true.
Remember, don't take our word for it. These are our opinions based on our experiences, but we want you to go out and experience something for yourself.
Yeah, we want you to listen to the things that we have to say and try to incorporate them in your own life, and hopefully you'll pick up some really you know, bits of gold there that you can utilize. But we're all learning, and we want you to learn. So keep coming back, checking out what we have to say. We're going to be mixing up all different things. So make sure you come back and say hi.
And I encourage you to take in what resonates and dump the rest. And always consider the source.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.